We're starting with a vlog, but if you only care about the review, look in the chapters and you can go straight there. Hi, I'm Noémie. Welcome back to my channel, La Fraise. This is Milo. Welcome back to my channel. You made me lose my train of thought. I'm Noémie. Welcome back to my channel, La Fraise. This is Milo. Today, in 10 minutes, I'm going to pick up a projector for my sewing. And this is kind of a crazy story because I was a very anti-projector person. Well, not anti-projector, but I really didn't think this would ever be for me. I was really happy with paper. I even talked to my wife just a few days ago. I think last week I watched this series of webinars that were given in Australia, and one of the sessions was on projector sewing, and one of the arguments was how projector sewing would be so much faster than tracing and everything. And I had thought about it and it was in my head, and I was telling my wife how first, I don't mind thing taking time. I like sewing. Sewing is my hobby, and so tracing and cutting and everything is part of it, and I don't mind taking it slow. I then was like, yeah, and sewing is something tactile, and so having the paper and being able to move things around and feeling like, you know, it's something tangible you can touch and not something that's just projected. I had all the good arguments, but then I think somehow that session still like planted something in my head and started some thinking, because I did go and look at a few YouTube videos from the speaker who had come. I think it's Daily Sews and Stuff. I think that's the name of a channel. I will link it in the description of this video because she has so many really good information. What I had kind of got from her is actually a projector might be not as expensive as you think. So that was in my head. Then I saw this video from Sydney Graham, and I saw that she had a projector that was just put on her table and that projected directly on the table. And that's where it all clicked for me, because basically I did not want to make any hole in my ceiling to put a projector. Also, I cut on my dining room table, so I wouldn't want to have a projector that's like permanently above my dining room table. And then also I did want a massive crane or something that would allow me to have the projector. Like, it was just, you know me, minimalistic material and everything. But when I saw that projector that was just placed on the table and projected directly on the table, I was like, oh my god. And then I started being like, oh, well, on one hand I see that, and then I have heard it's not as expensive as I think. So I kind of convinced myself that this projector was not as expensive as I thought it was. Correction, this projector is very much as expensive as I thought it was. So then I was like, oh my god, but it is €1,000. I can't put that budget in it. But then I went on her Discord group where I knew that one of the Discord member was using a projector, and I went to scroll back up, look at her photo, and I was like, oh my god, she also has the one that projects straight on your table, like that you place on your table and projects on your table. So I was like, okay, direct message, hi hi Discord person, and hi, if you're seeing this video, you probably are, and kind of asking like, how much did you pay for it, etc. And she said that she got hers secondhand for about €100. So I was really like, €100? Missing information. What also kind of started all of this thinking was, I have a project, I think you haven't seen it yet, but one of the coming projects that I have coming on my channel will require a lot of different patterns. And I was kind of thinking, all of those patterns, if I have to print them, cut them and everything, I was thinking of just the cost of the printing and how it would very quickly reimburse about €100 worth of material, because printing A0 is quite expensive. If you don't print A0s, it's your time you're sacrificing. And so I was really thinking, I think the project I'm talking about, if I'm not mistaken, it is 13 different patterns. So it would require me sticking together, printing, sticking together and everything, and tracing as I do trace, 13 different patterns. And I was like, wow, maybe a projector is actually for me. Like, it is truly this project specifically that has tipped me over the edge, and thinking if I could have a projector for this project, it would be life-changing. So talking to this Discord member, and it was really good advice from her. And basically, yeah, I found a projector secondhand. I'm going to pick it up now. Yeah, I need to leave right now. The person lives 15 minutes away from my house. So the projector, I'm not really sure that they range between like 1 and 2,000 euros depending on the one you get from the range, and I got one for 200 euros here. I couldn't bargain less than 200 euros, but I thought for having it straight away, and literally like I started this reflection on Thursday, I thought about it on the weekend, and now it's Monday morning and I'm going to get this projector. So it kind of went quickly, but I feel like it had been processing through my head slowly through time, and now I was like, I'm ready, and I'm ready to have a projector and to discover this. I will not be able to test it today because I have school this afternoon, so I'm literally going to pick it up and then I will try to quickly turn it on, but basically I don't have time to do much else. But yeah, so going to pick up a projector, 200 euros, so still fairly affordable compared to the full price, not as cheap as my trusty Discord member had found. I could probably have found one that price if I had more time, but to be honest, the ones I saw online were ranging from 200 to 550 euros, so it seems like maybe it's like people in my area feel like they can price things a bit higher. I don't know. I feel like if you have time, you might find something for 100 euros, but for me, having something that I can literally walk to, pick it up now and go home, I thought it was worth the 200 euros, which is still a lot cheaper than getting a new one. So this is my intro done. This works. No, Milo's making noise. It's my sign to go. I will go and pick up this projector and let you know how it goes. Look what I have. And I'm not going to lie, it's quite heavy. I think the 15 minutes home are going to feel much longer than the 15 minutes to come here. But let's hold this home. I had taken a backpack thinking I would put it in my backpack, but it's too big. It's way too big to go in the backpack. So I have 13 minutes before I need to have lunch and get a move on to go to school. So I'm going to do what no one should do, which is in 13 minutes, ignore the homeworks I have left. They're looking at me, I'm going to put them on the side and I'm going to try to get this projector working because I want to see how it works straight away. Because yeah, I have decided that it will all work easily and it will lead to absolutely no frustrations. That's the spirit we're going with. So it was pretty heavy, but I did put all of the cables in my backpack and that did help to manage the weight. It will need quite a good little wipe down, to be honest. It's quite dirty. Okay, we having a very, very good start. I literally do not have the plug for it. Oh, I don't have the plug, the one that he said, he showed a pile of plug and said, here is the HDMI and the plug, but the plug is not there. I didn't look properly. I mean, it was just, oh. Hopefully he has it. We're going to manage. It's fine. So that settles it that I'm not trying it now. And now I truly hope he didn't mean to get my money and give me something that has a missing cable. I really, really hope he has it. Because yeah, I did change cables on the street and put cables in my bag on the way, but like I don't think I would have dropped a cable and not noticed. I mean, they're fairly big. Oh, I hope it's going to end up fine. Otherwise, it's a crappy story now. Okay, so he says he's coming, so hopefully I didn't get scammed, and so I prepared myself. I'm totally going to make myself late for school. I can tell it, like, I can already tell. I'm going to try to get my lunch ready so that once it's there, I can just quickly try it and see that it works. But yeah, I'm quite excited to try it. I'm very happy it seems I didn't get scammed, so let's wait for the cable. He didn't come, but he said he would come tomorrow, and I'm still hopeful in humankind and the fact that it's not a scam, that he is bringing me a cable tomorrow. He seemed like a very legit guy, okay? I have faith. The decided I trust. I now need to go to school to not be late. Let's go. I'm back from school and I just got a message from the same Discord member who helped me, look at the projector, and I actually got basically the same one as her. So sorry, Discord member, yes, I'm copying you totally, no shame. But I explained that I didn't have the power cord, and she was like, oh, if you have a monitor, you might already have the same cord. And I do have a monitor, thanks to my old work. And I do have a power cord that's going to work. So that's super exciting. So I put you guys on because I want you guys to be able to see at the same time as me if it works or not. So super exciting. Basically, without this Discord member, I would probably not have a projector. I would not be testing it now. Like, it's all thanks to her. Thank you. Guys, it's alive. It's alive. And now. So cool! I don't think you guys can see, but there's a pattern right here. I have done nothing yet. I will play with calibration later on, but so far, let me show you. I haven't done any of the working out how everything works, so this is just what we have right now. But come on, this is amazing. I need to find out how to make it not blurry, because it's a bit blurry at the moment. I have pattern projector here, but I need to actually take the time to understand how it works. This is all a lot quicker than what I had expected, but exciting things ahead. Okay, so the guy just came to drop the cable and I had to kind of leave quite quickly to go and pick it up downstairs. So now we're going to see, did Milo jump on the couch thinking that I was gone? Because I think he might have, and I told him not to. So we're going to do the test, good boy or not good boy. Good boy, good boy. I don't want to say that I didn't trust in this puppy, but he's kind of bad at jumping on the couch first thing once we're off. You might have noticed that's his blanket, and when the blanket is on the cushion, that means he's allowed to go on the couch. And if the blanket is not on the couch, then he's not meant to go on the couch, and he knows it. When we are there, he would never go on the couch when his blanket is not on. But the dog knows that if we're gone, we are gone. And so he's kind of known to jump on the couch as soon as we're gone. He hasn't done it. I'm proud of him. It was a short test, but still, it shows that when I say no couch, he understands what I mean. Okay, today is a full homework day and also exam week. I think no playing with the projector probably until next week, once my most stressful exam is done. My future projects are actually not projector projects. This is probably going to be a couple of weeks before I do the projects that are to do with the projectors. So no waiting for you, but yes, waiting for me. That's why this video is literally planned for like in 2 months. For me, if the video comes out on the planned date, I am 2 months ago. Hey, if you know when this clip is from, well done, congratulations. I wanted to chat because I've watched Emily Lightly set up her projector. First, what a lovely, sweet, soft YouTuber she is. I really love a calming voice like hers and a very nice, gentle presence. Really enjoy her videos, so already a good start. But I was watching her set up her projector and doing her first project with her projector, which I found interesting because I was like, oh, that's very similar to the video I'm doing with you guys now. And seeing her experience made me very happy that I opted for a second-hand projector because she got a new one from Amazon that was pretty cheap, but then it means that, for example, in daylight she can't really see the lines from her pattern. When my projector, I don't know if I told you in the end, but I went to check and the model I got new cost 1,770 euros, which now makes me feel better about the fact that I paid 200, which I felt like was a lot, but now I'm like, wow, what a good deal. 200 euros for such a good projector. I'm very, very happy. It still has over half of the expected life hours on the bulb, so I think I'm really fine. So really, really happy with that. And so I just wanted to say, I do recommend, if you are living in a city or somewhere where there's a lot of offices and you can get a very good projector secondhand, from seeing her experience and comparing what she says in the video with what I have seen so far with my experience, I think it makes more sense to get a second-hand one. First, obviously, it's more sustainable, and I thought it could be an interesting reflection for you guys to see what would make the most sense. And I just wanted to highlight to you that it seems that if you are getting a cheaper projector, you might struggle to project in daylight when it's not an issue with a very fancy one. Anyone who knows about projectors knows what those two things are for. I'm going to keep them until the video goes live, but if you guys don't have a reason for me to keep those, I'm going to throw them away. I already want to throw them away. Like, where do they go? They don't go anywhere on the projector. Like, they look like they're supposed to clip somewhere, but there's no place for them, because here it looks like something could go. But it's not the right size. It's not the right thing. It doesn't clip anywhere. What is this for? Like, did I just get two random pieces of plastic from another projector? What's going on? I was finding the whole thing really difficult. If you can see here, there's my skirt. But now I just found... You ready? Ah, that's much better. That is much better. Now my table's too small. The skirt is literally off the table, but maybe I can push this a little bit. No, can I move it? Can't go much further. The skirt is too big. But yeah, at least we're getting somewhere. Okay, so we're making progress. It's 11 p.m. and I've just calibrated my projector to see how it would work tomorrow when I actually cut my first project, which in a way is a little bit silly because obviously tomorrow I will need to recalibrate it to actually cut the project, but this way I see it works. I kind of did the troubleshooting today and hopefully tomorrow it's going to be fairly straightforward and it'll go well. After I tried to figure things out, went back to my very kind Discord member who's been helping me and especially reminding me that it's worth it, because I was like, oh, it took quite a while to set up the whole thing. She re-mentioned how long it takes to stick a pattern together and I was like, of course, I'm so silly. I've just done Francesca's shirt and that takes so long. Like, yes, calibrating the projector takes a little bit of time, but you know what takes even more time? Sticking a pattern together. Here it might be worth trying to batch cut a little bit so that you don't have to reinstall the projector every time. Now my issue is that my table's not very big. I don't really have the space I want to cut. I need to think about that because it's true that normally I do like having the whole length of the table. Do I buy myself a new table? No, I'm joking, this is my dining room table. But maybe the skirt, I was considering cutting it on the floor. Other things to think about, that's for tomorrow, but yeah, so far so good. We have calibrated and we are moving forward. So here we are. By the point of that clip, I have only used the projector to cut the bodice of the wedding dress you might know I have been working on. And so that's my second time trying to cut with the projector. And what I started with was trying to retrace the projection directly on my fabric and then cutting with my scissors. The issue with that is that when you cut with your scissors, the line obviously moves because you make the fabric move, but so you are trying to follow the line you trace, but there's this line on top that's moving. And with the light, I just found that pretty difficult. So I quickly swapped to my cutting mat and rotary blade. Okay, so I have cut my first two projects on the projector and I would like to do a first opinion moment here. Afterwards, I will refrain from filming more so that this video isn't so long, and then I'll just continue testing it properly and give you my final thoughts once we reach the end of this. So first, setting up the projector. When you are like me and you're doing everything on your dining room table, takes a bit of time, but I wouldn't say it's much worse than just setting up my sewing machine each time. So if it's a cutting day, it's a fairly similar setup. It's just setting up the projector instead of setting up the machine. And that feels fine. I have to stack mine on a couple of books so that it's high enough. And if you put your projector every time roughly in the same place and you use pattern projector, recalibrating between sessions is fairly quick. I know the first time I had to do it, I had a meltdown and I was like, this is too long and this is not worth it. No, it's true that it goes a lot quicker as you're used to doing it. Also, I have flipped my projector so that now it's facing the same direction as me, because the first couple of times I used it, I had it facing the other way. So when I was trying to match things on my computer and on the mat, when I was moving top right, it would move bottom left on the mat. And so it was a bit of a struggle to move everything in the right direction. And obviously if I wanted to move it so it would go this way, I would need to go that way. In any case, having it facing you is also making it much smoother, so I'll keep doing that in the future. Now, originally I was hoping, now that I understand how projector works, and especially one that comes at an angle like mine, I'm like, you were a fool, but just so you know, I was really hoping to still use my shears with the projector. So I was like, if I don't move the fabric too much and I just slide my scissors underneath, it'll be fine. No, it's not fine. Really, if you move the fabric any amount, the line moves, and then it's really confusing to try to cut with this moving line. So no, cutting with your shears while you're projecting, big no. I was a bit too hopeful on that one. That doesn't work. So what I ended up doing is tracing and then cutting, and that's fairly fine. Honestly, that works. But if you have a big project, it just takes so much time, and then I would turn the projector off because I prefer cutting without having the light of the projector on me. It just was a little bit fiddly. So I ended up doing what projector does best, which is cutting with your rotary cutter on the projections directly. And that is very, very quick. Now, I haven't used my rotary cutter a ton, so I'm not very precise with it, and I find that cumulatively having the small less precision of the projector and the small less precision of the rotary cutter, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm cutting like a totally different pattern piece. I think it's something that I'm going to get better with practice, especially with the rotary cutter. I think it was mostly a me problem than really a projection problem. But for me, it truly felt like if you want a very, very precise project, this is not it. But it worked and it was very fast. I have kind of a lot of mixed feelings at the moment because I feel like I did not really enjoy the process of... Hello, Milo. I did not really enjoy the process of cutting with the projector, and that's a bit because I really like cutting my projects, but I like it as an analog experience. I like having my pieces on my paper, I like cutting with my scissors, I like cutting my project with my shears. I like that moment. It's a quiet me moment. I sometimes put like a YouTube video I'm excited for, and it's a whole peaceful moment for me, and I like the cutting phase. And using the projector was like, this is making me like the cutting phase a lot less. I can't use my scissors except if I retrace, obviously. I can't use my scissors the same way. It's noisy, the projector is noisy. It's not so noisy, but if you are a bit sensitive to overstimulation, I find it noisy. It's bright, you can adjust the light, but if you are projecting on a white fabric, you do need something that's going to be quite bright. So it's bright in your face. Because I'm using my computer to project, I can't have a YouTube video at the same time. I could have it on my phone, it's not the same. So for me, I was like, this is ruining the whole experience of cutting, but it is making this experience last a fifth of the time. I can't even tell, maybe even, I mean, it just takes so long to stick a pattern together. So it's making it less enjoyable, but it's making it so incredibly faster. You are saving the money on printing, especially A0. If you're printing A0, you are saving all of the tracing time. Like, you're just saving so much time. So less enjoyment, but you do have a whole bunch of advantages. Mostly the space you don't need to store your patterns, the money you don't need to spend, and all the time you don't need to spend. So I feel like for me, where I stand now for the future is I do picture myself using the projector for most projects. when I want to feel a little bit more connected with my fabric, maybe using the projector to trace and then cut with my shears. And then if I really have that special project I want to feel all the feels with, then I think I would still use my old method of tracing and using a paper pattern. That's where I stand now. We shall see in a few weeks where I stand after I've used it a lot more. So we are a while later than when I started this video, and I think I have, final. Is your opinion ever final? But I have kind of a well-rounded opinion because I have tested this projector a fair bit and I now know where I stand. And I already want to warn you, the answer is not projector are amazing or projector are bad. I think it's going to depend on you. So let's see together if using a projector would be the right thing for you or not. So to summarize the positive points, and for me there's only two, but they are massive. So it's going to sound really skewed to be like, oh, there's like two positives and then a million negatives. But you have to consider how heavy the weight of those positive points are compared to the weight of the negative. You know, if it's two very big positives and a lot of small negatives, it might still be worth it. So hear me out. The positives are, you are no longer spending all of your life sticking little A4s together or spending a lot of money on A0. So you are saving yourself a ton of time and money potentially / space. Money, I think if you print A0, the projector pays itself back quite quickly. The time that you save is wild, and I think it gets wilder as you are getting better as well with the whole process, and as you get faster. Like, I think that you can't understate how much time you save. And if you are busy and sewing is just your hobby, then you might want to make sure that you optimize the small amount of time you have for your hobby to sew, you know, and not to spend like entire evening sticking A4s together. And then there's also the saved space of having potentially way too many pattern envelopes all around your space. And it depends how much storage you have. But in my case, living in an apartment, I don't have a proper sewing studio. Like, it just takes a lot of space, all of the paper patterns. So time and money and space. Those are the big arguments for using a projector for sewing. Now, if you have an issue with space as well, like me, I've already touched on this, like, you know, you have the ones that you can mount on the wall. Obviously, if you have a sewing room, do that. Have one that's like attached to the ceiling above your cutting table, and you don't need to calibrate ever again, and life is good. In my case, obviously, I'm transporting it every time here, so it is a bit different. But I just want to say, if you are in my case and you are sewing on your dining room table, it's still totally possible. And if you have a sewing room, then you are so lucky, because then you can have the projector on top. And it looks very fancy and cool. Now, I have to say, despite what the sewing community, so there's a group that's projector sewing on Facebook. It's really good if you need a bit of troubleshooting. They claim that they get 99% accuracy. And I don't think that's fully true, just because for me, the line, like, sometimes to be able to see the line, I need to make it in a way that's like so big that it's already, if your line is 3mm, how accurate are you anymore? Like, there is a point of accuracy that I think you can't get with projector sewing. But at the same time, if you're sewing a boxy top, who cares? So it also might have a time and a place. Anything where 2 to 3mm are not going to be at the end of the world, doesn't matter. I just want to say that compared to the old school pen and paper version, it is less precise, and I don't think you can really argue with that. It would probably have been really fine with old Noémie. It's just that now I have been ruined by school and I'm clearly more nitpicky about how precise things are than before. So if you are naturally someone who's very detail oriented, you might not find satisfaction into using a projector, because you're always going to feel like you're slightly off the mark. Something that's more like just for me, but I personally cannot find a flat enough surface so that all of my lines are properly straight on my cutting mat. So I can align the four corners fine, but then I do see some warping in my lines, and apparently it's because something is not flat Is my cutting mat not fully flat? Maybe. I tried on the floor, I tried on my table. Like I could not find a place that was flat enough, and also I'm not going to cut on the floor just in order to have something flat. So I have a bit of warping in my line, I am aware of it. So I am knowingly adding probably 2 millimeters of inaccuracy in my pattern cuttings. So something to keep in mind. Like I think it's harder to be extremely accurate, and probably a bit harder than what the die-hard projector fans would tell you. But so I would still say it's probably enough if it's just your hobby, if you're a home sewist, if you don't do your ball gown of the year, like, you know, in many cases it's going to be fine. It's not fine. I have written for laundry. I have talked with Lisha, which is my encore expert. She said like not at all the right call for this. With laundry you need to be so precise that projector is really not the place to use it. And yeah, any detailed work, if you do your first corset in your life, probably not the right moment to use your projector. I see in my notes here that I wrote that I would use it for knits, and I have been using it for knits at the moment, and I'm not very happy either. I find that, for example, I'm trying to pattern match some stripes, and it's much more difficult than when you have the paper pattern on hand. Basically, what you are missing when you are using a projector is that possibility of putting all of your pieces and to move them easily around and stuff. You can, if you are comfortable with vector software, prepare things on a pretend piece of fabric, but honestly, my cutting mat's not big enough to use that afterwards anyway. So I think for me there is something to say in the pattern matching, in the precision and everything about having a piece of paper that you can move, especially if like me you like really a lot of pattern tetrising and to use every little bit of your fabric. I have found that I've been wasting much more fabric using the projector. I believe you get better at it. Always like, yes, you would get better at it with practice, but naturally I think it's easier with the paper to not waste as much fabric. I'm very curious if in like 2 years I will have fully changed my mind. If I do, I will make an update to let you know, but like at the moment I feel like there is something to say about paper to be a full like Tetris ninja. And to be honest, I also find it quite difficult to see the fold line on the printing, like the way the fold line is next to the fabric. Like with the projector, I find the fold line very hard to see sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, I hope that the middle is in the middle. I don't really know, so there's that. What I picture myself doing at this point, and what I have kind of decided, is that I'm going to try to keep using it for knits. I kind of want to keep giving it a good go and not give up. And maybe if I'm doing any sort of loose tops or anything like that, I'm going to try to persevere because I do want to get better using the projector. But I think for any project that's a high care project, what I want to do is project onto my tracing paper, retrace the pattern and cut the pattern. Oh, but Noémie, you don't save any time anymore. You do still save some time because you save, in my case, the cutting of the A4 and the sticking the A4 together. You save the money of the A0 if you use that, and you still save. I mean, if you're a tracer, if you think of how you trace normally, you cut your big pieces and then you trace each piece separately. And here I'm going straight to tracing the last piece. Out of the 3 first steps, I am removing the first 2 steps. So I think it still saves me time. Paper-wise, having to keep only the tracing paper and not all of the other pieces of paper beforehand is still quite a big amount of paper saved, and I just feel more comfortable this way. It also allows me, and I think that, I mean, I haven't heard anyone talked about this online, and I've watched quite a few projector-related videos to inform myself on this, but I have talked to you guys on the Discord, and one person agrees with me, so thank you, one person who agrees. But like, if you like cutting, and cutting is a meditative, peaceful moment for you, and you like to do it with your fabric shears, I think it's worth retracing. I feel more in control, I feel more at peace, I have my music, I have a YouTube video, it's a nice moment. It is not as nice a moment with the projector, with the light, with all of the things, with my rotary cutter. Like, it's just not the same experience for me, and I do want to keep the enjoyment into cutting my project. Now, if you are one of those many people, I know you are a big club, who do not like cutting your sewing projects, don't walk, run. This is absolutely the right tool for you. This will make your cutting so fast you will barely feel it, And if you're already comfortable with the rotary cutter, like perfect for you, like go ahead and do this. This is really going to be the tool for you. But if you are more like me and you enjoy cutting your project, then you will see that it takes some of the enjoyments away from you. And I think the mid solution with the tracing and then cutting is something that will work for you. I have not seen anyone on YouTube make a video about doing it that way, but because I've read also the comments in those videos, I have seen that some people in the comments have said that they do that. So clearly I'm not the only one, and it's not entirely mad to do it this way. Okay, editing Noémie interrupting here, but I just find it so interesting because as I am editing this, I'm like, come on, it can't be that bad. Certainly it's still worth the time saved, and it's like going back to those big purrs, and I'm like, you're just a wuss, just go and use the projector and cut and everything. But like, that's what I tell myself when I'm not doing it, but every time I am using the projector, I think this is not how I enjoy to work. I think this is not what I want to do. And so I think it's really worth seeing if that's something that would work for you, but also it might not, depending on your cutting preferences and depending on how you like to work. And yeah, and it's hard to give up on the big time save, but if it's something you can't really look past the negative parts of the projector, then yeah, it's a tricky one. Okay, I have a couple of negative points that I still want to mention, and I have quick Q&A because I have just gathered a couple of questions for you guys to make sure that we covered everything that's important. So also, rotary blades are expensive. So maybe I still need to find a good way to buy them in bulk somewhere. But honestly, where I buy them, I get 3 blades for 20 euros. And I swear after a project and a half, there's already one corner that's not cutting. So then after I cut off my thing, I need to go back and recut every 4 centimeters where something has not cut. It's a pain. They get those little corners that are not cutting perfectly so quickly. It's not so tiring to go and recut, but still it's just that added little friction for me. And I was like, are you really saving money if you don't print the E0, but then you still need to buy a ton of blades? Maybe it's because I'm picky and I want them very sharp, but in any case, I need to find cheaper blades. And if you're not currently using a rotary cutter, maybe you want to take that into account. If you're already using a rotary cutter, then that's not a point for you, and go ahead, because that's going to make your project even faster to cut. And have to say, projectors work really well with rotary cutters. That's a match made in heaven. So a note that's not as true for my projector. I have a really good one, but if you have a cheaper one, it's going to be hard to see some lines when it's bright, when it's daytime, when your light is on. And I always have so many lights on, I really can't work in dimness or in the dark. It hurts my eyes so much. But some people have to cut almost in the dark to be able to see the lines of the projector. So for that, I would say, I've already mentioned it earlier in the video, but get yourself a good projector where you can actually see the lines. Otherwise, what's the point? It's so uncomfortable. Don't make yourself go through that. I can't read anything that is projected, written wise on my pattern. I thought it was because I hadn't focused my projector well. I was like, I must have done something wrong. I tried to focus it better. And then I saw in someone else's video that they were saying I've set it up properly, it's all good. I can't read the text on my patterns. And I was like, okay, it's not just me. Most of the time it's fine. There's not so much written. And because you are next to your computer anyway, you're like, oh, okay, I'm cutting the back now, blah, blah, blah. But in the one case where I worked with a pattern that had not layered files, oh my god, that was such a pain, because I couldn't read the sizes, I couldn't see the differences between the lines, and that was very difficult. I think it's very rare now to not have layered files, but when you do cross those patterns, oh my god, what a pain. I have one final note and then I'll go to the Q&A, but how did people do this before Pattern Projector as a program was a thing? Long live Pattern Projector. I think if I had gotten to this before Pattern Projector existed, I would have given up. It's just, with Pattern Projector, it's child's play. Honestly, it's a free program, it's amazing. You do your calibration, this takes 2 seconds. Once you are used to it, it's really quick. and then you project and it's right. I can't overstate what a brilliant program it is. I think for people who are projecting directly on top of the table, they have fewer issues, but obviously someone like me who replaces her projector every time and it moves every time, I need to recalibrate every time. If I didn't have Pattern Projector, my life would not be fun. So thank you so much, Pattern Projector. And if you are starting, get yourself Pattern Projector. It's a free program and it's great, it's amazing. All the features are so well thought out, and I will actually mention some of them in the Q&A. So I have a couple of questions. One, how will you deal with moving the mat for big pieces like trouser legs? At the moment, my mat is so small, even for a top, I have to move the mat. And the way you use it, I have done the same for the skirt, so works for small pieces and big pieces, is that in Pattern Projector, long live Pattern Projector, great program. You can trace additional lines onto your pattern. They show in a different color, so they're really visible. What I do is that I add a line, for example, like let's say I'm doing this, I would add a line here mid-bust, I cut all around, up to the line, I then shuffle everything over, I move my projection, and then I cut the rest. Adding those lines makes everything so much easier. I would really say if you are going to invest in a projector, it's probably worth investing in a bigger mat. I would say a small mat like mine is probably a bit too small to comfortably use your projector if you really want to use it for all of your project. Like at least have something that's like, you know, decently big so that you don't have to shuffle things around for every single piece you cut, because that's going to be a pain. And actually, in an attempt to make this as successful as possible, I have just bought myself a bigger mat. I don't know if it's quite that big, but it's twice the size of my current mat, and my current mat can now be tacked at the end, so that gives me 3 times the space I have now. So I'm really giving myself the best chance of being able to use this for every place where it's applicable, everywhere where maybe extreme precision is less needed. If you are getting a projector, it would be great if within the investment you can also consider getting a fairly big mat to be able to make the cutting experience more comfortable. Okay, I think as we are gushing over Pattern Projector anyway, let me show you a little bit what it does. So this is the way you adapt. So let's say your mat is in front of you, you would use those 4 corners to adapt this to match your mat. And if you have one of them selected, if you press just the arrow up or down, you can do it also very precisely. I find that sometimes I just put the 4 corners roughly with my mouse, and then I used the little arrow on my keyboard to really get exactly where I want it to be. I find that the most practical. Now, if we project, this pattern is sorted in 4 columns. So I'm going to select 4 here. And as you can see, it is now already matching here. In this case here, you can see that there's actually a little space between the 2 sheets. So we're going to want to close this. That's not the right button. Gonna want to close this way and go all the way until the 2 lines meet. Here we are, and now it is perfectly stitched together. So you don't even need to go into Pattern Stitcher anymore. You can do it directly in Pattern Projector, and it's as easy as that. You can select the size you want, so you can see only the size that's applicable to you, so that it's much easier to cut with only the size. If at this point you're like me and you're like, I can't see anything at all, you can make the lines thicker and thicker until you are comfortable with your projection and how you see it. Obviously, if you make your lines very, very thick, you are losing in precision, but sometimes being able to see the line is worth it. You can add several sorts of grid if you want. You can switch the orientation if you want, and you can add lines like this. Here you are. If you need to cut this and see if I move this, the line moves along with me. I'm curious as to whether you can change the color, like if it's only green, how would you see it on green fabric? Well, Pattern Projector, like every time, that's going to be my answer for everything. Pattern Projector is amazing, and you can actually switch between black on white or green on black. If you click here, now it's going to project green. And here it is going to project white. And here it's going to project the white and the black. So this projects the most light because it also projects white. So I think that is Brilliant. Okay, something else I quickly want to show, because I was talking about the fact that you can't read well when you are projecting, but Pattern Projector has an answer for everything. And if you actually hover over some of the text, Pattern Projector is going to blow up the text a little bit bigger so you can read easier, but it does mean you need kind of a hand on your computer. But that is the solution for that problem I was talking about. I also had 2 questions from Instagram, which were: is a projector worth it if you have to do lots of pattern adjustment? And actually the other question is very similar, because it is: how can you adjust a pattern piece if you don't have the paper piece? And so actually a projector is worth it, and you can do your adjustment if you are very comfortable on a vector software type Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer. Or if you want the free option, there is Inkscape, but Inkscape is, a little bit, it's free, so it's a little bit more fiddly to work with. But if you are a wizard with those programs, you can totally do your modification on your PDF and project it with the modifications done. Just want to say, you need to be comfortable with those programs. If you're not, then you are not going to be able to do the modification before projecting. Now, nothing stops you to do kind of like what I will do, which is still save yourself all the sticking and all of the paper printing and just project straight onto tracing paper and then do the modification. That way you still save yourself some paper. So it kind of depends. Are you comfortable with the digital programs? If so, go ahead and then you can project and cut directly what you have projected. If you are not comfortable, then you will need to trace first, and then it kind of depends what your normal process is, if that's going to actually make it quicker or not for you. I also thought it was quite interesting to clarify, maybe if all you ever do is lengthen or shorten, that's also a much easier modification to learn to do on a vectorial program than if you need to do a full bust adjustment, a broad back adjustment. All of those things are much more technical to do on a program. So if all you do is lengthen and shorten, it's probably very easy to learn, but otherwise make sure it's skills you are ready to learn before committing. The last question I have you given the projector a name? And I have not. But actually, I don't normally name, like my sewing machine doesn't have a name, and I'm not really a big like naming type of person. But because the projector and I are having a bit of a challenging start, I feel like I'm not entirely sold and everything, maybe I should give it a name to try to get more friendly with it, so that we really get a good vibe. I am taking name recommendations in the comments. So this is a short throw projector from Epson, if that's extra information you need, and I will let you know if I pick one of those names for my projector. I'm very glad that the very important questions got asked here. I hope that was clear enough. Don't hesitate if you have any questions and anything I need to explain more in details. I will happily do so in the comments. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Are you a projector fan, and is there anything you think I should know or revise about my projector strategy? I'm obviously really happy to know. If you want to support my channel, don't hesitate to tip me a coffee. That's always immensely appreciated. You can also just like this video and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And don't forget that you can make anything. Bye!